In this part of the world, men are usually expected to provide for their families. But if the primary earner passes away, gets sick, or cannot work, everything changes. Then, women must step out to earn a living. In our society, which is still very patriarchal, this is always a difficult path. Mrs. Fatema is a 67-year-old street vendor. She spends every day, from early morning until night, walking from street to street to earn a living. She carries a large basket filled with women's bangles, necklaces, hair clips, and other small items. Each day, she makes about $2, which is hardly enough for her needs. Her husband is still alive, but doesn't live with her anymore. With years of struggle, she gradually saved enough to buy a small piece of land and build this home. But with it came a weekly loan repayment of $70. Today, we will spend the day with Mrs. Fatema to see how she works to earn a living, manages her family on a limited income, and faces many challenges along the way. We will bring you her story of struggle, exactly as it is. Fatema's day begins right at sunrise. Around this time, a few people gather in front of her house seeking treatment. Alongside her vending work, she also treats jaundice patients every Sunday morning. Today, as well, she examines each patient one by one. Even in this modern age of medicine, many people still trust Fatema's natural remedies. She checks her patient's conditions. The medicine will be provided tomorrow. The plants for which she will collect from the nearby wetlands after returning from her work later today. Once the patients leave, she changes her sari and returns to her household chores. First, she brings her goat outside and ties it up. With no separate shed, the goat stays inside the house at night, leaving a stuffy smell in the early morning. She cleans the area thoroughly, then lets her chickens out of their cage. Next, she mixes the food in a small bowl and feeds it to the goat. While the animal eats, Fatema walks to the tube well to freshen up. Wipes her face with a dry towel and begins preparing breakfast. She washes rice thoroughly with tube well water before heading to the small kitchen attached to her house. There, she places the pot on a clay stove and lights the fire. Smoke fills the air instantly. As the fire burns, the water slowly comes to a boil. Fatema returns inside to eat betel leaf, a habit she has kept for decades. She consumes more than 10 a day. She has even created a small personal setup just for this. Bringing it close, she prepares a betel leaf and places it in her mouth. Chewing betel, she returns to the kitchen and continues the cooking. Today's breakfast is simple: rice and leftover vegetables from yesterday. Once the rice is ready, she brings the pot inside, serves herself a plate of warm rice, and sits on the wooden cot outside to eat. Years of chewing betel have almost completely dulled Fatema's sense of taste. She no longer finds flavor in food. She eats purely out of necessity, just enough to keep going. Today is no different. She quietly begins her first meal of the day. Fatema built this house little by little, using money she earned through immense hardship. And built the rest by taking loans she still repays. There are 2 small rooms inside, and in front of them, a tiny shaded courtyard. This is where her wooden cot stays, the place she spends most of her time. Beside the cot stands a tube well. All 4 of Fatema's daughters were married long ago. Their support has been her biggest help in building this house. Even now, they send whatever they can each month. Adding that to her income, she manages to pay the weekly installment. After finishing her meal, she pulls her betel leaf box closer. With practiced hands, she quickly prepares several pieces, one for now and a few wrapped in cloth for the road. Then she sits with her large basket and begins arranging her products. The basket is filled with small items, bangles, necklaces, hair clips, and other accessories. With years of experience, she organizes everything neatly. Once everything is ready, she picks up the basket, locks the gate, and starts her long walk for the day. Today, she must walk more than 8 miles again. Before reaching the main road, she crosses the wetlands in front of her house. After a short walk, Fatema hears the first customer call. She steps into a house by the road and sits by the doorway to sell her items. After collecting payment, she steps back outside, reaches the main road, and continues at her usual slow pace. A long dirt road stretches ahead. Carrying her basket, she walks along the path. Step by step, she enters a neighborhood. Going by the houses, she calls out, "Would you like bangles? Anyone need necklaces?" She stops for a moment in front of a familiar house. Most of her customers are people she knows. As she stops, women gather around her, looking at bangles, necklaces, and hair clips. Today, they do not buy anything, but they clear their previous dues. After receiving due payment, Fatema begins walking again. A little further on, she enters another house. She spends a short while chatting and tries to sell her items. In these homes, Fatema is not just a vendor, she is a familiar member of the community. People speak warmly with her. But even here, she does not make any sales today. Still, she moves from house to house in the same way. As she walks, she calls out loudly. Sometimes she makes a sale, and other times she returns empty-handed. In this rhythm, morning slowly turns into noon. The sun is now directly overhead. Walking further, Fatema enters a slum. Here too, people gather around her, looking at her products and bargaining over prices. But in the end, nothing is sold. She tries a few more spots inside the slum before heading out. Then she makes her way across the railway tracks, planning to try her luck in another neighborhood today. Door to door, she continues the same cycle. Small sales in some places, rejection in many. Under the scorching midday sun, she keeps walking for hours. Even at this stage of her life, Fatema must earn her own food, walking mile after mile just to survive. One look at her shows that life is not equally kind to everyone. Fatema's life has never been easy, yet she has spent most of her years following this same routine. In the last house of the day, she manages to sell a few items. Her total earnings for the day are $2, leaving her with a profit of less than $1. Now it is time to return home. Fatigue settles over her body and hunger grows. Slowly, Fatema begins the long walk back. Sometimes on wide city roads, sometimes on narrow, unpaved paths, her journey continues. A fast-moving train passes by her from time to time. But when she is out for work, she never takes a rickshaw or a van. She simply cannot afford it. After a long walk, she reaches home. By now, the sun is leaning toward the western sky. She enters the house, puts her basket on the cot, and begins cleaning. Finished, she eats another betel leaf. She grows restless if she goes too long without it. Sitting on the cot, chewing betel, she feels a moment of calm. After her bath, she serves her lunch. Rice cooked in the morning with mashed lentils and vegetables left from yesterday. She cannot afford anything more than this. Finishing her meal, she reaches for her betel container again. She prepares another betel leaf and puts it in her mouth. Then, taking a shears, she steps out of the house. To gather herbs, for the jaundice patients she had treated earlier that morning. She walks along the pond's edge and through the wetlands, gathering the necessary plants. The sun is now dipping into the western sky. Darkness will fall soon, but Fatema's day is far from over. Once done, she sits by the pond for a moment of rest. In the soft evening light, she drifts into thought, perhaps trying to make sense of life's challenges. After sitting quietly for a while, she stands up again. With the herbs and shears in hand, she starts walking back home. Back at home, she puts the chickens in the coop and locks the gate. Then she begins walking through the narrow, dark village road, heading to the market to buy goods for tomorrow. Walking for a while, she reaches a small local market. By now, everything around her is covered in darkness. From here, she gets on a van and heads toward the market. Soon, the van enters the bustling night market. People crowd every corner. She pays the fare, steps down, and enters the market. She goes to the shop she is familiar with and begins buying items for her business. One by one, she selects bangles, clips, necklaces, and other small accessories she needs. These shops carry almost everything she might need. Once she has picked out everything, she pays the bill, collects her goods, and steps out of the shop. Leaving the shop, she walks to the nearby vegetable market. Once there, she buys what she needs for cooking. The market is still crowded, with people busy purchasing what they need. After finishing her shopping, Fatema leaves the market. She hires a van again. The van moves slowly through the dark village roads. Near her home, she gets down, pays the fare, and walks the last stretch alone. Under the dim streetlights, she walks home. The village is silent, only her footsteps echo. A thin crescent moon hangs in the sky. Returning home, she brings her basket from inside and sits on the wooden cot to organize the new items. Once everything is arranged and stored away, she starts preparing her late-night meal. As the fire burns, the rice cooks slowly. Finally, she fries an egg for herself. Her dinner is simple: rice, fried egg, and yesterday's vegetables. She eats quietly, takes her medicine, and then begins the last task of her day: sewing. She works slowly, steadily, until sleep finally reaches her eyes. And that is how another long, exhausting, work-filled day ends for Fatema, like so many days before. A day of small earnings, countless hardships, and quiet resilience. At the end of her life's journey, many of her calculations may no longer make sense. But life, like a river, continues to flow, steady, gentle, and unstoppable.